of the argument. Let's speak now to Paul Carroll, author of Shaking Hands with Elvis, a novel about what it could look like if assisted dying became legal across the world. He is against the bill. Paul, welcome here to the programme. You have spoken publicly about yourself being at the crossroads, applying to Dignitas at one stage in a moment of despair, then changing your mind. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, to be honest, it wasn't a moment of despair. I was discussing this eventuality with my partner. Neither of us were ill. And like many people who look at the area of assisted dying thinking, oh, well, it's like an insurance policy. If I ever got to that stage, this is something I'd like to have in the locker. And it was as casual as that. And it was only when I started writing a novel on assisted dying where I followed 4 patients who had gone into this process. And I examined the reasons why they were there and their doubts and would they change their minds and what the external pressures on those decisions were. That I did a lot of research, as you would expect, around the world. And as I wrote the book, I really began to worry about all the alarm bells that the legislation around the world and the take-up of assisted dying.
Well, just tell me then about some of those alarm bells and then how you consider the framing of the legislation that's been brought through for England and Wales.
Well, indeed. Well, when Canada brought it in, which everybody talks about in 2016, they had very similar criteria, 6 months, terminal illness. That got changed within 2 years to include people with chronic illnesses, unbearable pain. So already we have a split amongst the pro-assisted dying supporters that the people who have got neurological diseases will say, well, hang on, we're excluded from this. So when it comes to safeguards, as we saw in Canada, they will tumble. And I know, obviously, the MPs have looked at it today, Kim Leadbeater, and she cannot guarantee this law not change. It could come under legal challenge, as it has done in other countries, because in the end, people will say, why is a person with 6 months left to live got more of a right to end their life than me? Because I've got a worse problem in terms of, say, neurological disease. And then, as we've seen in the Netherlands and Holland, people say, well, actually, I've got depression or I've got anorexia. And already these people can apply for assisted dying. Now, the bill doesn't want to see that. I appreciate the bill doesn't want to see that. But once you have legalised and legitimised the idea of an artificial ending of life, a medical ending of life, an unnatural ending of life, you desensitise people to the idea of it. And then that brings in other people into the net, really. So when people talk about the vulnerable, yes, that's very disabled. They think, well, what's the point of going on? You know, they may not get the care. And we know that people are not getting the care already under the current NHS that they deserve. So the net will just keep widening as it is in other countries. And I don't think you can say that the safeguards will be never changed. I mean, another government in, say, 10 or 20 years could change it. For example, I looked at the statistics. I mean, by 2050, 25% of the population will be over the age of 65. In my book, Shaking Hands with Elvis, I imagined a world where the NHS had actually disappeared.
Yes.
So we get to the idea of coercion here. As I say, you don't need somebody stood in a corner saying you need to do this. It's just the power of suggestion that, well, actually, this is an easy way out.
I hate to cut in there, but so many of today's contributors recognising those dangers. It is a long passage through Parliament, and I'm sure those are issues they are bound to address. But, Paul, we have to leave it there. But thank you so much for joining us here on the programme. I just want to point everyone who is watching to the BBC website, because since the vote came in, the live page has been running, and there's been so much reaction, an avalanche of reaction there since that vote came in the House of Commons. There's the Speaker but they're just some of the interviews we've been doing through the course of our programme from every side of this debate, both here in England and Wales, but also abroad and internationally. And we will continue to return to that here on the programme in the next few minutes. But we're going to move away just very briefly from that to have a look at some of the important other stories of the day for the next couple of moments. And let's start in Syria, because jihadi-led rebel forces have now reached 2 suburbs of the Syrian city of Aleppo. War monitors say the fighters who launched a surprise offensive on Wednesday carried out